Angela Lansbury is an achiever, an epitome of feminine greatness that painstakingly overcame her twisted prestige, owing to her dark past and private issues that threatened her stardom. From her tough beginning to incredible relationships, marital woes, and worrisome antisocial links, this unique lady had unattractive backstories. I hear she took responsibility for the failure of her marriage, a talented dame that had to live in fear, misery, plus betrayals, amidst unmatched prominence that saw her winning prestigious awards, even as an elderly. Did Angela Lansbury blame herself for her husband's homosexuality? As a little child, I grew up to hear my father say, "Every greatness has a price tag." One sunny morning I asked him, "Does it mean all the great people we see on TV have paid their prices?" Dad smiled. He didn't have an answer to that, but must have been saying in his mind, "It's a matter of time before you'd understand. That's what it is." At this time in my life, I would not need anyone to lecture me that the road to greatness is not an easy road, not with all I have learned about the life of great personalities, like that of Angela Lansbury, the famous Hollywood and Broadway sensation. Although Angela Lansbury may have attracted her biggest fame as a TV persona in the character of sleuth Jessica Fletcher, there was never a dull moment in her life, whether on stage, in film, or on television, throughout her highly entertaining career, even with the inherent obstacles and private misfortunes that had threatened her prominence. Angela was a clever lady, highly motivated and focused on her dream. Not even the shocking life situations that tried to smear her image could stop Angela from excelling. The need for survival was more important for Angela than anything the world offered her. That was why she took every advantage at her disposal en route to greatness. Is it true Angela Lansbury had a distressing skeleton in her private life? She was a strong-willed performer that became a star at a very young age, increased in popularity as she grew older, and continued to build her fame towards the last decade of her life. Angela's life was such that while many older actresses see age as an obstacle to getting movie roles, the reverse is the case for her because she instead was rejecting offers. This tells a lot about her saleable talent. For a career that spanned about 7 decades with countless nominations and awards, Angela would be best remembered for her show as the mystery writer and sleuth Jessica of the CBS series Murder, She Wrote, which ran for 12 seasons between 1984 and 1996. The show practically became one of the most famous and longest-running detective drama series in history. Commenting on how that production felt for her, Angela once said that Hollywood studios did not see her as their leading lady for some reason, and that changed with that show. "I am a character actress first and foremost. One area that I was not was playing Jessica Fletcher. At the time, no one gave the show a chance of survival, as Richard Levinson, one of the show's initiators, rightly acknowledged. We were getting condolences even before we went on air," he was quoted. "They hoped for average success, only for it to become a hit." London-born Angela Bridget Lansbury, 1925, had a mother, Moyna McGill, who was also a successful actress. Edgar Lansbury, her father, was a successful entrepreneur. All of these ensured little Angela enjoyed her childhood, but the fun-loving time was truncated when she turned 9, the year her father died of cancer. Her father's business and, of course, the family income went south, and life became tough for young Angela. Her mother struggled to take care of her 4 kids, including Angela. To put food on the table, her mother had to sell almost everything, including books. Describing the loss and how it changed her perception of life, Angela later told fans that it was the defining moment of my life, adding that nothing before or since has ever affected me so deeply. Everything about her life changed. Teenage Angela still couldn't understand why life had to be so cruel to her at such an early stage, as she wandered off on the right lane and saw acting as an interesting coping mechanism. The moment she decided to get involved in dramatic activities, her interest in academics disappeared. Her newfound love for acting led to frequent visits to the cinema, As a writer puts it, she turned into a dreamer and a self-proclaimed movie maniac. While she was doing her acting to escape grief, fate and misfortune was not through with her yet. When World War II began in 1939, Angela Lansbury and her family managed to seepage Liverpool unhurt following the raging threat of the war. I can imagine the anxiety that might have engulfed young Angela. Just a few hours after she and her family fled England via a steamship that sailed to America, the city came under heavy attack. Following that dangerous ship crossing, they arrived in New York and stayed for a while before relocating to California, where mother and daughter hoped they could find their fit back in the movies. Angela was just 16 years when she told her potential employer that she was 19, as she began performing in a nightclub in Montreal. After making her first theatre appearance in a nightclub, things did not quite add up within the period. Shows were disappointing for little Angela, so she had to diversify her sources of income as she began a job in a Los Angeles department store. After her mother got sacked for her job, living became more difficult as the family had to depend on her meagre $28 per week pay. While on her duty post, Angela got a call from MGM to audition for a role in MGM's The Picture of Dorian Gray. So I went to MGM studios with my mother, she recalled. At this time she wasn't anything closer to the typical Hollywood seductive sirens that many studios wanted to see in young starlets, so she failed several auditions. But her determination soon inspired her to possibly pass through the back door to meet and network with decision-makers. Angela was a noticeable lady in the social circle and had a lot of friends within the entertainment scene, both straight and homosexual actors, and was said to have mingled with unconventional young men. This is what she was referring to in her memoir when she stated that, "I was around a lot of unconventional men," alleging also, "My mother knew a lot of them." And lucky for Angela, that social currency provided the much-needed career breakthrough. How did that happen? Through one of the notorious socials, she met the scriptwriter of 1944's Gaslight, John Van Druten, who made a promise to her. And with fabulous Ingrid Bergman in charge of casting, the coast was clear for a golden opportunity for 17-year-old Angela. Not too long, Angela Lansbury signed in for a 7-year contract with MGM and got her name in the limelight with her debut movie role. She played Charles Boyer's mischievous Cockney servant in the thriller Gaslight. That production got her instant fame, plus an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Her early rough road had just become rosy, and for young and ambitious Angela there was no need to slow down the pace, as was seen in her subsequent film outings. Although she did not win the early Oscar, Angela thought it was part of the divine arrangement that she didn't win at the time, because she felt it would have raised her pride so high as to have deterred her career growth. "I've often felt earning an Academy Award too early is a terrible deterrent. You don't know what to do next," she was quoted. But the truth was that while Angela was excelling and gathering accolades, her private life was in a shambles. Just a year after she received extraordinary career fame, she met and fell in love with actor Richard Cromwell. Angela first saw Richard when she was still a teenager reading fan magazines, but with her sudden change of status, she was opportune to meet her once Prince Charming live, and in no time they got along with each other, even though the blonde sun-tanned actor was 15 years older than her. Observers say she was obsessed, as Richard seems like a fantasy dream come true. But as we all know, not all that glitters is gold. At least that is what Angela soon discovers, as their whirlwind romance and marriage led to an unbelievable wreck, as the marriage fell apart sooner than she had envisioned. She was so happy and blinded by love that she did not see it coming. More experienced Richard had spoiled her with his juicy compliments and deceptive care as he introduced her to some of his notorious pals. So she did not hesitate the moment he proposed to her. Even though Cromwell's acting career had come to a standstill at the time, Angela was in for more surprises in the marriage. It turns out that Cromwell was an unconventional man who had married her hoping that the marriage would turn him into a heterosexual fellow. Though Angela was innocently ignorant of all this, thinking she had met her heartthrob, I guess what she saw in the marriage was too difficult to swallow. A few months into the marriage she was practically worried about his deteriorating health, being that he was suffering from agonizing migraines and asthma crises, made worse by his drinking habit. Not only that, she did not see any of the clues before their marriage, but she was also asking herself other questions, until she came home on a fateful day and observed that her husband was missing. With Richard's car gone and no single of his personal belongings in the closet, Angela discerned that something strange had happened. Then she found a scandalous note he left behind. The chilling letter, hurriedly written, had ended with, "I'm sorry, darling, I just can't go on." The situation was devastatingly confusing for young Angela, because she had no idea why he ran away the way he did, and left her with more questions than answers. Without any choice, Angela filed for divorce within a year of that marriage. Her request was granted the following year, sometime in 1946, though the two kept communicating after their break-up and remained platonic friends. Perhaps the reason Angela got even more confused, as the initial love for him was still in her eyes, amidst the trauma Richard had made her go through within the period, she became remorseful about the failure of her marriage and blamed herself for her husband's betrayal. The situation had destroyed her self-esteem, and she had to find a desperate solution for herself. It was not until she finally met Richard's psychiatrist doctor that she was reassured of her innocence in the marriage. Back to her senses, Angela became suspicious of many things in Richard's life, and discerned foul play about the entire situation, as if she is the only one who didn't know the truth about her ex-husband's condition. I guess she was still searching for an answer to that incident when she stumbled on the truth. She had reflected on what Cromwell's psychology doctor had told her, and was able to solve the puzzle. Angela realized that she had married the wrong man, a man who only married her because he wanted to alter his sexuality, which was not easy for him, and to make matters worse, it seems everyone knew about this, including her mother. After months of agony, the medic confided in her about Richard's sexual preferences. He failed in his mission, the reason he ran away from the marriage, in what appears like the final straw that tore her broken heart into pieces. This talented lady had to move on with her life, and even became a hero of her story because, in her memoir, she narrated her ordeal, saying, "I never really thought through what I was doing, getting married. I was just carried away with the idea," adding that it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Less than a year after, Angela found herself in an 8-mile drive to O.J. Valley with wannabe actor Peter Shaw, having been invited to actor Herb Hatfield's star-studded party. Their proximity to each other within the period was enough to spark affection in them. Their conversations were as if a match made in heaven, and both arrival and departure showed that her charm had captivated him, and by the following day it was clear that they were already into each other. Reports say the following morning Shaw was at her bedside with breakfast in bed, and in no time she was telling his host and friend, Herb Hatfield, that the man, Shaw, who would become her husband, is wonderful. Their relationship began in earnest, but since Shaw could not make it as an actor, he decided to become an agent to his girlfriend, Angela Lansbury, and it paid off for them. The couple was married and remained married for 53 years, until Shaw died in 2003. Several years down the line, Angela discovered sadly that her daughter Deirdre had walked with the wrong friends. She was among the few fascinated by the infamous Charles Manson. Angela knew she had to save her daughter, plus her son, who was bedevilled with abuse to the extent that in 1970 he went into a coma from a disturbing substance overdose. It seems there were just too many tragedies that she had to overcome, but Angela was a brave woman who took things the way they come and successfully overcame her adversaries. Because not only was her husband ill at the time, their Malibu home went off in flames, with family belongings burnt down to ashes. Following the events that followed Manson's case, Angela was very conscious of the life of her daughter, and she relocated her family outside the US and took refuge in Ireland. In the latter part of her life, Angela Lansbury was active mostly in London and New York stage, remarkably winning her 3rd Tony Award starring as Mama Rose in a revival of Gypsy in London. Despite her age, Angela kept performing on stage and winning more laurels, including Broadway performances, in movies and on television. Famously, her Murder, She Wrote shows, all of which left her with a basket of awards and countless nominations before her death at the age of 96. But now get ready for our next video, where we'll uncover the darkest secrets behind the stardom of Michelle Phillips. You won't want to miss this exclusive look into one of Hollywood's most enigmatic stars.